Roberto Martinez's Portugal side navigated through Euro 2024 group stages with relative ease, but faced a tough challenge in the round of 16 game versus Slovenia. Ultimately, they went on to win the game thanks to the heroics of Diego Costa in the penalty shootout. Martinez opted for a back four system in both the Slovenia as well as the Turkey games, showcasing tactical flexibility and resilience. Here is how you can replicate Martinez's back four system in FC24. As mentioned in the previous Portugal video where we discussed the 4-2-3-1 and the 4-3-3 tactics, Roberto Martinez is quite happy to chop and change his formations and his style and his approach to various different games in order to try and get the best out of the players that he has, as well as trying to dominate the opposition. Now, we saw that he opted for a 4-back system versus Turkey, playing a 4-3-3, and the same would be applied to the Slovenia game, playing a 4-2-3-1. Now, essentially, both of these systems are very similar. You'll see a lot of player roles and instructions being very similar when in and out of possession of the ball. But I would probably say that the 4-2-3-1 benefits the personnel in the side a lot better, especially if Martinez is looking to try and play Cristiano Ronaldo up front as the focal point of the attack. Having a player like Bruno Fernandes next to him or just in behind him looking to try and feed him the ball, or alternatively press and probe higher up the field, covering for Ronaldo in this defensive system, you might find that it does suit these players a bit better. The tactical approach for Roberto Martinez now, there won't be many changes compared to the last video. We will still see them pressing and probing every now and then, but still looking to maintain their shape and their structure. So the defensive style should be set to pressure on heavy touch. So if that mistake is made and there is a loose pass or a wayward touch, your team will look to capitalize on that, win the ball back, and advance it further forward, maybe creating a goal-scoring opportunity. Of course, with the system, you have a bit more of a pressing personnel in that frontline area, especially with Bruno Fernandes, like I say, covering for Ronaldo, pressing from the front, leading that press. And you'll often see that what I noted was with the Slovenia game and even the Turkey game, there were a few pressing triggers, whether it was one of the centre-backs collecting the ball, maybe it was one of the weaker centre-backs collecting the ball. You would see this Portuguese side all move in and try and, hound that player into potentially going and making a mistake himself. So there will be pressing triggers, and it is easy to implement this in FC24 by using the D-pad and team press, or even just second man pressing, of course. The team width will still be set to 40, incorporating that nice compact central system, but also matching up with the man-v-man marking system. When you are looking to aggressively press high up the field, you will have players in every quadrant and zone looking to aggressively impose themselves on the opposition player. The depth of the side will be set to 70. Now, this can vary and range depending on who Portugal might be playing up against, whether it's a France or a Spain. Teams that will look to try and impose themselves on you, you might want to drop the line just a little bit, creating that element of caution, and that is something that Roberto Martinez is very key in doing at times, looking to invite pressure and not really look to press that high up the field when in possession of the ball. So it can vary, but against Turkey and Slovenia, we did see a much higher line implemented, and therefore I would say 70 to around 80 might be the way to go for that higher line. But in terms of the defensive line, and looking just to sit back a bit more and implement that mid to lower block, I would say anywhere between 60 and maybe even 50. So the offensive tactics for the side, the builder play should be set to maintaining a balanced approach, along with the chance creation being set to possession. Nothing really changes for that. We will see them playing out from the back. We will see them dictating the tempo of the game, having the midfielders in Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, or whoever you have in those central zones, looking to run the game at Portugal's pace, making sure that the player on the ball has lots of passing options at all times. And when they do look to transition very quickly and very effectively, it will mainly be down at the left-hand side, whether you see the likes of Mendes and Rafael Leao, or potentially some of the subs in Jota, or maybe even a Joao Felix. They'll consistently look to press and probe and penetrate the opposition's backline area down at the left space. The width of the side should be set to 80, paired up with the players in the box being set to 5. You're not looking to overcommit too many players into that attacking zone, but having Ronaldo situated with a few other players, 1 or 2 to be exact, does help with potentially whipping in crosses or facilitating cutback opportunities for the players. Of course, you will also stem a lot of your attacks from those wider areas of the field. Your wider players and your fullbacks, and of course your 2 wingers, are very important in looking to try and stretch the play and open up quite a bit of space in the central zones for the likes of Ronaldo or one of the attackers in the central areas. And then finally, people, the corners and the free kicks will still be set to 4. Taking a look at the individual player instructions and roles for the side, starting off at the back with the goalkeeper. Now, Diogo Costa doesn't really have a role change from the previous video. He will still be set to maintaining a balanced approach for saving on crosses, allowing the likes of Pepe and Diaz to try and dictate the aerial duels at times, and even then he might mix it up and choose to be a bit more aggressive and claim those aerial threats himself, but that's why I've set it to balance. Now, I've also set him to play as a sweeper keeper with the likes of Pepe and Diaz pressing high up the field. You do need and want a proactive goalkeeper in looking to try and minimize the threat in behind. We saw versus Slovenia, he saved the one-on-one with Šeško, and that was more or less him coming off of his line and looking to try and minimize the attacking threats from the striker. So you want him to be set to sweeper keeper, as well as when he is playing out from the back, establishing a first phase builder play. He is very good at being able to either ping passes further forward into the striker or the wider players, or alternatively be very composed and play the shorter passes into the midfield or the centre backs. Speaking of which, your two centre backs in Diaz and Pepe. Now, Pepe will be set to maintaining the step-up approach. You want him to be very imposing towards the opposition, and this more or less implements the aggressive nature that Pepe does have. If you do set this to aggressive interceptions, I have found that more times than not, it will keep that centre-back very much out of his natural position, and that can open up a lot of gaps between your backline, and that can also lead to potential goals being conceded. So I would say just leave Pepe on step-up, whereas Diaz will be set to the base set of instructions. Now, we have seen that Diaz does get forward, but you want at least one of your centre-backs just to have a more balanced approach to the game. Both of these centre-backs, however, are very good at being able to compose themselves in that first phase build-up, collect the ball from the goalkeeper, looking to help facilitate the tone and the tempo for this Portuguese side, very much joining up with Vitinha and being able to increase the tempo or alternatively drop the tempo and play at Portugal's pace. A player like João Cancelo, who is now being deployed as that right back for the team, he will be set to join the attack. You quite often see Cancelo attacking very fluidly down at the right space, and his run time will be set to maintaining a mixed approach, allowing him to invert into the midfield, help facilitate offensive patterns of play in those central zones, or alternatively attack down the right space and help facilitate crossing opportunities or cutback situations with the likes of Bernardo Silva. Whereas down the left-hand side, Mendes does have a slightly more reduced attacking role, and he does tend to balance out both the attacking and defending phases of play quite nicely, but when he does get forward, you will see him quite frequently look to overlap the likes of a Rafael Leao. Now into your double pivot of Vitinha as well as Palhinha. Now essentially with these player roles and instructions, it will at times formulate a 4-3-3 system and shape. With Palhinha, he is going to be the guy who's going to try and screen in front of that back four, looking to try and break up the opposition's attacking play and make sure that he is imposing himself on the game, at least on the defensive end. He's the type of player that will break up the play, win the ball back, and then just circulate it further forward into one of the more technically advanced players, whether it's a Bernardo Silva, a Bruno Fernandes, or even a Vitinha. So for his instructions going forward, you want him and his defensive behavior to be set to cut pass lanes, stay back while attacking, and have aggressive interceptions. This will help him impose himself on the game quite a lot, bring that physicality, bring that aggression that we have seen from a player like a Palhinha, who's quite happy to dive into a tackle, break up the play, stop the opposition from potentially launching quick counter-attacks, and that will be his role for the system. The other instructions will be set to stick to position for his positioning freedom, as well as cover the wing. For a player like Vitinha in the system, now he is deployed as a number 6, looking to be a deep-lying playmaker, but he also, on the offensive end, higher up the field, can play as a number 8, and that is exactly what these instructions will do for him. So his defensive behavior, just like with his midfield counterpart in Palhinha, will be set to cut past lanes, looking to intercept the play, break up any opposition build-up play or offensive rhythms that they might be looking to generate, win the ball back, and progress it further forward. Now, this is why he will be deployed as a number 6, but play as number 8, because even though he will have a slightly deeper starting position, he will often look to break forward and be very involved in that final third phases and passages of play. The interceptions will be set to normal, and then you want him to be the deep-lying playmaker, especially in that first phase builder play. He possesses the technicality and the technical skills to be able to drop between the two defenders under pressure and collect the ball and then spray it further forward, or find a quick flick-on pass to maybe a Palhinha or one of the surrounding teammate players. So you want him to be able to, in those tight spaces, drop deep and help facilitate with Pepe and Diaz. And then finally, just like with Palhinha, you want him to cover the wing. A player like Bernardo Silva does have a unique skill set. He can be deployed on the wing or in those central zones. Now, essentially, Martinez has used him out wide quite a lot for Portugal, but he does want him drifting inside, helping facilitate the offensive movements in that final third alongside Bruno Fernandes. So he he will be set to come back on defense. We do see Bernardo Silva does have a very good work rate on him, where he does always look to help back the likes of a Cancelo and just try and protect the backline as best as possible, especially from that right-hand side. The chance creation paired up with the support runs will be set to come for crosses and free roam. Now, essentially, this will help him drift into those central zones, attack the half spaces very effectively, and like I say, combine nicely with Bruno Fernandes almost acting as a slightly wider playmaker or a wider number 10, depending on how you see it, of course. The other instructions will be the interceptions set to normal, and you want him on the edge of the box looking to facilitate the passages of play. Bruno Fernandes in the system is going to be relied upon as one of the chief creators with trying to generate those offensive opportunities and movements. Now, essentially, that is something that he is very good at doing regardless, and that is why Martinez loves Bruno Fernandes so much, because he is a chance creation magnet. Now, his defensive support will be set to basic, as normally Bruno would definitely look to drop quite deep, looking to help defend against the opposition, but it will also allow him to have a slightly deeper starting position when the ball is won back and in Portugal's favor. But essentially, that is going to be the role of Vitinha, so we don't really need Bruno dropping into those deeper spaces, whereas Vitinha will look to fulfill that role himself. So at times we might be able to see it, and we have seen it, but also at times we've seen Bruno stay further up the field, helping formulate a 4-4-2 formation when they are looking to press and probe the opposition, looking to try and cover for the likes of CR7. The support on crosses will be set to get into the box, allowing him to break into those attacking zones and be on the end of potentially crosses or cutback opportunities, having the likes of Bernardo Silva as well as Vitinha facilitating on the edge of the box alongside Bruno Fernandes at times does tend to allow Bruno the freedom to break into the box himself. The positioning freedom will be set to free roam, allowing him to drift into those half spaces, attack the available space in and around the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. And then finally, the interceptions should be set to aggressive, looking to lead the press for the Portuguese side. The left midfielder in Rafael Leao will be set to come back on defense as well as maintain a balanced width, allowing him to drift in and out of those wider channels. Now, essentially, the support runs, I have set this to target player. I have seen quite a lot of Rafael Leao having the ball knocked into him, holding up the play and laying it off into a Mendes or a Vitinha or a Bruno Fernandes or any player that's in and around him at times. He does tend to break him behind, and you can essentially trigger this by using the L1 double tap button, and that will help him make those aggressive runs in behind. But we more so tend to see him holding up the play, collecting the ball at those deeper rates, and then driving at the opposition with it. So the target play approach, I think, should be applied for him, as well as the interceptions being set to normal. And when he does make those aggressive runs, you want him arcing those runs into the central zones, looking to attack the space in the box and be ready for the potential cross or cutback opportunity. And then the striker, the man that is the key to unlocking Portugal's attacking outlets, and that is going to be CR7, allowing him to drift wide, peel off the back line. When he does make those runs in behind, you do see him arcing his runs into the slightly wider areas and spaces of the field. So you want him to still be set to drift wide, as well as pairing that up with the false nine approach. Just like with Leao, who can look to break in behind himself, Ronaldo can do the same. But because this is going to be a possession-based brand of football that Portugal are looking to implement, you will often see Ronaldo dropping a bit deeper into the midfield zones or into those wider areas, looking to get on the ball and help link the play with the players in and around him at times. Now, essentially, like I said, he does look to also make those runs in behind, and you can use the double tap L1 button to make sure that he is forcing those runs at times, looking to be an outlet ball if Portugal are looking to go a bit more direct with their attacking play, having a Bruno Fernandes potentially launch a longer ball into the attacking space just in behind the backline of the opposition. The interceptions will be set to conservative, as Ronaldo doesn't overly look to press and probe. Every now and then you might see him making an aggressive run, looking to close down some space, but more so he is going to be set to conservative in order to conserve a lot of that energy for the offensive, phases of play. And then finally, the defensive support will be set to stay forward. He will be an outlet ball for the counterattacks. And of course, with him also being deployed as a false nine, it will allow Bruno Fernandes to essentially overlap him at times and more or less figure as the number 9 himself. So it's a nice tandem that they do work in partnership with. And there you have it, people. That is how I would successfully implement the 4-2-3-1 Portuguese tactics under Roberto Martinez for Euro 2024 in FC24. I really do hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Rounding everything off, please don't forget to smash the like button as well as join the Discord. I would absolutely appreciate it. Whilst you're doing all of that, subscribe if you are new and you like the channel and all that good content. Anyways, my rating for this is slightly higher than the previous one. I gave it, I think it was an 8. For this one, I do like the offensive fluidity a bit better. and therefore I am going to give it an 8.5. Now I know versus Slovenia, Portugal they didn't score. It was a 0-0 game that they had to take its penalties and win the game through the fantastic heroics of Costa. But they did create a lot of opportunities. They did create a lot of chances. Now, maybe with a slightly younger Cristiano Ronaldo, they put quite a few of those opportunities and chances away. But as a whole, the system, it does work very, very nicely, especially in a game like FC24. So you guys will have to let me know down below in the comment section what you would rank and rate this system out of. Anyways, until the next time, until the next one, which will be tomorrow, I hope you guys have a goddamn smashing day. I'm out of here. Peace.